Good day, everybody. Welcome to Crossroads Calling podcast, where faith meets real life. I am your host, Aroma. I'm joined with my co-host, Joy, and we are with Bishop Teepa. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We appreciate your support. All the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions. It doesn't go unnoticed, so thank you. We're 4 months in now, and we are very grateful to have all of you. This week, we're going to be discussing the topic and subject of mental blocks, patterns of thinking, and genuinely just how you may be stagnant for a bit. And I'll pass over to Joy to introduce what we're going to be speaking about today.
Yeah, so just, thank you, Roma, for introducing us. And once again, welcome to the pod today. Just echoing what you said about talking about mental blocks, patterns of thinking, mindsets, and I think just things in your mind which prevent you from moving past the forward point. And starting from this, just going off of what I saw this weekend, and me and Bishop, we were talking about this earlier about the recent game between Man City and Arsenal. After that game, I was listening to some people online on a podcast talk about the game, and somebody made a very good point, which was after 5 years, how do you continue to convince the same group of players, let's go again for another year? After the past few years, you continue to fall short of reaching that goal of, winning the league. And it made me think that is definitely a mental struggle of how can I continue to motivate, like as in our tennis shoots, how can we continue to motivate not just himself, but his team and the wider Arsenal fan base, let's go again for another year, we can do it for another year. I was thinking at some point it must get mentally exhausting and you might think maybe we can't jump this hurdle. And that's just how I want to start that off, guys. Like, what do you think of that? Like, how do you, not just in terms of football, but how do you get past the point of, let's continue doing this after you've maybe fallen short multiple times of a certain goal?
That's really interesting because on that subject, I think there's no denying that they're a great team and what they've done has been incredible. And then it comes to this point. It seems to always be the same point where they have the same issue. I think it relates to mental blocks because you can only go so far, but once you reach the same point where, you see the cycle repeating, I think that's when you have to try something new. You have to, because clearly whatever you've been doing previously hasn't worked. But I think there's also comfort in what you know. And I always find that when I need to break through to another level or to another stratosphere, the thing that maybe can prevent me is that I go back to my old patterns of thinking because that's what's comfortable. I stick with what I know rather than trying to do something new. So I think to give that example, it's how brave and how willing are you to try and do something new in order to achieve what you want to achieve when you've seen that your current systems and stuff aren't working?
Good question. I think there's a quote I've heard before. To get somewhere you've never been before, you have to do something you've never done before, which is just echoing what you said. I feel like when something's not working, you might have to change your systems or your approach to the situation at hand to achieve a different result. Because if you continue to be doing the same thing over and over again and you've not seen tangible results, you might have to start thinking, okay, clearly this isn't working. Let's look at different avenues and just be open to other ways of achieving success, I think. Yeah, it's a good one, though.
Yeah, so I think it's a very pertinent area of our lives that we are speaking about mental blocks or a mental block that can come upon somebody in this life. It's beyond maybe even the examples that we are looking at because maybe the league is not yet over, so maybe we don't know what happened. But it's just a good example of maybe where people have reached out and they are looking at ways of going further than where they've more or less like progressed to. And they've gone this far, and at the end of the day, maybe they can't progress beyond that. And it's a common feature in this life that there are certain stages of life, or there are certain areas of one's life, or there may be particular patterns in a family, in an individual, in an institution, even in a church, that you find that we seem to be edging closer to the finishing line. That you discover that every time we get that close, something snaps, and it's like we are starting all over again. The children of Israel were 40 years in the wilderness that they would have taken maybe just a few weeks why? Because they kept going round and round the same rocks, the same mountains, the same rivers and valleys. But if you check, it was a problem of their own. It was a problem that was within them. That's why we are talking about mental problem. Because when you are speaking about something mental, we are speaking about the thinking capacity, the mentality, the mindset, or the thought line that somebody has been operating on, that it can reach a ceiling. But you know that in this life, there are people who have gone beyond certain ceilings that some other person is failing to break through and progress further than that. And number one, there is God. There is God who is never limited. Is not limited. Number two, there are people that you can look up to say, you can go to somebody and find out from them how they went beyond what you are failing to penetrate through or go beyond. Number three, there are systems. You see, if talking about crabs, sometimes the situation is not just what we are seeing on the play field or even with the coaching, but it's a system that has been put in place. There are certain systems that have been put to say, when we are playing in this type of competition, we'll use players A, B, C. We are going to make sure that some of these players are recruited for this competition. And then when you come to a place where now you want to excel and you discover that you may not have everybody in your team who has been used to playing in a certain way, and you try to employ the players you have brought through another system within the same body, you discover that you are struggling. That's just one area, but I'm just speaking that you might discover that if we come to crabs, sometimes it's beyond the playing field. It may be in the boardroom. It may be decision makers somewhere they missed a very crucial signing. Because if you be very honest, you discover that those people who do well, they always prepare. They are not scared of preparing intensively. They invest. They go all the way to make sure that they pull up or uproot certain things that will be barriers when they reach a certain stage. For example, in January this year, if we are talking about, there are players there that were good, they were available. Look at who grabbed them. So today we may be saying, well, this one is actually may not, but look at the players they grabbed to beef up. Those players were available even for these other clubs that are having, if they got one of those, Guehi was available, Semenya was available, and that. So I'm just giving that it is beyond that. But you see, it's still a mental block that when you get to a certain place, you are saying, no, we can't do it, we can't buy, we have to sell, we have to. But if you have to sell, sell. If you want to achieve certain things, you have to go beyond some drastic boardroom decisions in crucial times to say, enough is enough. We want to achieve ABC. So we are going to break the bank or go out of the way, even if we have to sell a certain star in order to bring some two fresh young ones to keep us going, so that at a time when we are so fatigued and we seem to be tired, we have the legs to go all the way through. So there's quite a lot there, but I'm just trying to speak in general terms that you see there are systems, structures, there are mentalities, thought lines, and there are barriers in our mental capacity that have to be loosed, that have to be broken, and some protocols that have to be taken out of the way. Don't be scared, just be prepared. And also at the same time, go for higher level thinking capacities. So I would go to all the people that I know, they have broken the bank here and what have you, to find out how they did it, to learn from there, to study them, and at the same time, to take a brave and bold step to say, I'm going to do it this way this time around. I'm not just going to use the traditional way that I've been doing this and the like. So all these are issues that come into the perspective of mental blockages and what have you when we look at it. But it's a wider area. What area? The thought line is a hotline. I always say a thought line is a hotline. Thoughts may come, but unless they're expressed in word or deed, they die prematurely.
Yeah.
We always say that. So what I always say is that even those who succeed, it is a thought line that has been put in them that you are a winner. You are a champion. Let the champion. If you check, they also had their own struggles. They also fought at that one time. But you see, they have the capacity to pick themselves up because Proverbs 24:16, a righteous man falls seven times, but he picks himself up. He picks himself. So they have the experience of falling and rising. Or know that this is not the end. You can't write them off. You do them so at your own period. Similarly, the person who has this mental block, he is expressing a thought or a thought line of fear, of worry, of panic, and what have you. And that stays, and that has now settled there. That is hibernating with the person. It has built a stronghold. And most of the time, it's within our mind. It's within our mind. So we will have to discuss much on this mindset that it's a mentality that I have to break loose from. It's a tradition, it's a custom, it's a way of doing things that do not give you the ultimate results. How can you break that? So it starts with the mind. It all starts with the mind. The mind has a very big role to play here. And I want to use one example later on that I see very, 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 look at it, it's fitting our discussion, even with one sentence or so from the Bible that explains this, that if the mindset is not worked on, you can't go beyond what you have always done. Whatever you have done all the time has a limited capacity linked to a mindset that helps you to get there. But if you do not improve on it, educate it, and get it energized for the next thrust, it will not go beyond that.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that I want us to speak about is sort of the effects of actually being stuck in the same mindset. Because I've seen a quote that says, we suffer more in our minds than we do in reality.
Oh, sure.
For sure,
Very true.
Very true. But I think there comes a point where, going back to what Joy said, if you want something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done to get it. But I find that, especially not just in modern society, between young, old, it doesn't matter the age, but you tend to stick with the pattern of thinking that you've been taught. It's very hard to change the pattern of thinking, because how does the saying go? You can take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. So now that we're in a time where information is readily available, and there's always a new thing to do, a new way of doing things. What are some of the negative effects of a closed mindset? We should say a mindset which is rigid and kind of refuses to, move forward.
I mean, on that, I think one of them is if you've got a closed mindset. Well, I'll say this, like, every day, world are always moving, things are always evolving, things are always changing, new things happening. And I think if you're not open to go with the way, as times change, like, you're going to be outdated at some point. And if you don't keep up with things, for example, I talk about in the tech world, you see how AI is just taking like a big boom and everything, every business company is using it. I feel like as companies and businesses, if you don't keep up with that or adapt to that, you're going to be left behind. I think that's just one example. And I feel like a lot of businesses have fallen behind in recent times because they've not kept up with the way society is moving, with new trends and how people are, taking on to that. So I think, to answer your question, I think just not evolving, and it, comes with having a closed mindset, and then you just kind of get left behind with the world.
Yeah, we are living in a world where I think the word transformation is very important. This world is a dynamic, revolving entity that keeps changing or developing and growing. And so that has to also to do with mindsets, because what is making this world dynamic or revolving, it's minds of people. This world is all about people. Whatever we are seeing in the world changing, there are certain minds there that say we can improve on this. We use in the Greek language, from my Bible knowledge, the word metamorphosis. That's the one we use most especially when we are looking at the transformative type of life or process. And they say that we have to renew our mind with the word of God so that we may be transformed inside out, because that transformation starts inside us. Now, they use this Hebrew word metamorphosis. It means to go through a gradual change, to go through partial stages. The same thing that started off as an egg, you discover that later on it comes like a larva, like a worm, and later on you find that it's growing wings, later on it becomes a butterfly. It goes through those stages. That's what the metamorphosis process is, just to explain to somebody or a child somewhere. But that's the stages that we pass through in this life. You start as a baby, you come to a child, the little one is running around, a young boy, young girl, a young adult, then you are growing, later on a parent or a grandmother, grandfather. That's the process that goes. That is the outward man, that's us in the body. But now, inside the mind, we also need to be going through this transformation. Because if you do not accept to transform yourself and become rigid, you are not going to achieve a lot here. You'll be in the stone ages, the iron ages, trying to build this big building using stones and using hammers, hammering here. How long is it going to take you?
Yeah, we have
Because the
machines now.
modern society, as I was saying, there's AI, there are computers, the digital systems, and what have you. They found a way of doing the same things quickly just by studying what you can do, what you can develop, and how you can build quickly using transformative materials and what have you. So it's the same thing with us in our daily work. Transformation is a radical change inside out, or change that is so sporadic that you can feel it, that it is coming from a point where this has been baked, this has been boiling, this has been getting prepared until now it has exploded and you can't stop it. Somebody said, you can delay change, but you can't stop change.
Stop it.
Yeah. So change has to be there. And if there's one of the key factors of this life is change. Change comes. Whether you like it or not, things change. If you are worried as a young man that you know, parents, I'm under dominion and whatever, I'm not free, just wait. Change is coming. Job says, I think in Job 14:14, all the days of my appointed out service will I wait until my change comes. And I always tell young people, wait, young man, change cometh. Change will come. One day you'll be your own parent. One day you'll be your own stronghold financially. One day you'll be your own pastor. You'll be your own husband, or you'll be a wife of somebody, a mother, a father. So change will always come. In any society, no matter how rigid the society is, if we have to move with the current waves in the world, change has to come. The economy, what are we struggling with when we are talking of depression, when we are talking of inflation, deflation? It's changes of the power of the currency. We are talking of changing in taxes, tax rates. Yesterday it was this, today's fuel prices. The change is a vital part of this life. And the mind also needs to be going through change. And that's why for us as people who fear God, we have to renew our mind with the word of God. Because what God has said in his word, many of the things look impossible with the human perspective. But he said the weapons of what God has given us are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. And the strongholds that I mentioned there, it's not like the weapons of war, like we see of the belt, the shield of faith, the belt of but it's talking about putting down high things that are in the mind, high thoughts, high desires, and high dreams and hopes that exalt themselves above the knowledge of God, not above what the word of God is. There are certain things that say, this cannot happen, Joe, unless God, if God would make windows in heaven, it can't happen. It used to happen now, it can't happen. That's the mind, the mentality in the natural. But the mentality that is renewed after the word of God say, I believe God for the impossible to happen, because God says all things are possible with him. So bring into captivity every thought to the obedience of the word of Christ. And so what I'm trying to say for us as believers, we believe that most of the time when we get into the word of God, when we are inspired by the Holy Spirit, or somebody who gives us a word that more or less like boosts the morale of our faith. We try to do the extra things that we would not do. We try to walk on water. When we know that walking on water you can sink, but somebody has once walked on water. Why? Because they tried the impossible, or what they could not do. And they believed God and it happened. So similar in the natural world, there are things that people tell you, this job you have started, it may be a bit hard, but if you follow what we are telling you, and you follow this, and you follow the stewards that are teaching you, that are ahead of you, they'll pull you through there, and you get there, and whatever. And those are the stages that happen in this life, day and day. But the key thing there is to accept change. And that's why, as you say, and you even said, you have to change certain things. At one point or the other, you have to change, especially your mentality. Say, don't just get to a place where you say, I can't do what Orama can do. I can't achieve what Joe has achieved. I cannot manage to do like I'm my own person. Yet you are remaining there. Try to work with those guys. Try to work with those guys. Try to emulate and try to do a bit of what they are doing and see if you can remain in the same place. There are certain things you just need a trial. You just need to take a test. It's just a test drive or what. You discover that I think I can manage to do this and what I do. So that change has to start in the mind because, as you said, everything in this world is revolving around the human mind. Every development you see, everything you see, some mind. That's why you say the mind of man is God's think tank on earth. Yeah, we are as a man thinks in his heart, so is he outwardly. So this mind, what gets inside us, is very powerful. What goes inside us can determine where we are going. There's a saying that says, "Where the mind goes, the man follows." Yeah.
I have a question, and on the complete contrast to that, I was just talking about how change, and I agree, change is so necessary, but do those people, is there validity in when some people say, there's a quote, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Yeah, because I remember there was a time at work where, long story short, we were implementing a new system and we had to teach, people how to use the system. And a lot of feedback we got from people is, oh, why do we have to change? I like the old system. Oh, what's wrong with the old system? It works fine. And like now when you speak, I was just trying to think about, how they might have thought about it, because there's also times where people will say, oh, in my family, this is how it's been for generations and we've done it this way and it's been fine and so on and so forth. Do those people have some validity in where, actually, why do we need change if we've done it this way and it's been fine and we receive the same results over such and such all this time? I don't know. What do you think about that?
No. To me, what I say is that what you don't change is succeeding. What is succeeding, you don't change. So if something is successful, you don't change. Like Guardiola, if you go to him and you say to him, Pep, can you change this whole thing? Say, why
play
should I
back
change
three.
it?
Yeah.
If you tell him that for the next 2-3 seasons, can you bring another good center? He will resist even the board. Say, you know what? I've taken time to build this. Now I've found a successful formula, I've found a successful team. It will take time for me. So what is good, what is operating perfect, so you don't need to change. Because there, to me, there's no mental block or there's no blockage or barrier. But what you change is what is not working and what is not taking you far. Or you also count the ages of time, the span of something, how long it has taken to develop. As it's like a child, they are born and they are 14 years old, they are not walking and they are not maybe speaking. You will try to change certain things. If you are told, oh, can you change your diet? Can you change that diet? Can you change the school? Can you change? Because something is stuck somewhere. But if everything is okay, if somebody comes, I want your child to go with my child. I want them to be. You can resist and say no. Where they are happy. I don't want to make my child unhappy when they are happy. And where they are doing well. They are on top of the class. And where you are trying to take the person to, I don't think the environment would suit them to do it, because here they finish at this time and then have time and ample time to rest. Where you are taking them, yes, they will be friends, but they finish late and it will affect them and whatever. So I agree with those people who say it's successful. It's doing us good. It's giving us the profits. If it's a company, people have got targets. They will tell you we are even making much more than what the budget targeted. We are going to make as profits. So we are not going to change maybe for the next year because the board feels we are okay. But you discover that where there are problems or where there are challenges, people cannot resist change, and that's why I'm saying that where you need to change, and there is really a vital request all around, including inside yourself, something ought to change or improve. You can't resist it, because if you resist it, it's at your own demise and what have you. Yeah, so for sure there are certain things that may not change. But what I'm trying to say to you, for things to get where they are, even those who are successful, who are saying, no, we can't change for that, it means they've changed a number of things to get here. And they've worked at it, and they've changed these shoes and those tires and all that. Now they've gotten a brand. It's like this Formula One. I'll tell you the way they've developed their cars. They will tell you they've evolved from the hundreds, the 1900s to death. And what they built, when you are saying, it's not really, people say, well, let's wait until the end of the season for us to look at certain parameters and systems because it has succeeded with them, for them, but now it's like their friends have now advanced or what have you. So for them to change certain things, they also need to go back to the drawing board. But as if you look at them, they'll tell you this has won us.
It's won us,
and
yeah.
we can still believe up to the end of the. But if it doesn't work, then we are going to change. Yeah. So there are places where people may tell you, no, I don't think there's no need for change.
You see, my counterpoint to that, though, is I believe, as you said about the mind and how everybody's always creating, human beings are innovators. Just because something's not broke necessarily doesn't mean it can't be better. Because even with the example of Formula One cars, Mercedes would build a really good car this year, and they'll say, you know what? Yes, this car won, but next year we're gonna change it up a bit. And even to give a practical example, I think high level athletes are probably the best example of this because they understand, for as good as I was this season, I need to be better next season. Not because I didn't play battle, not because there are holes in my performances, but because I understand that change is coming. If people have studied me for this season, they understand what I do. I can't show up with the same bag of tricks again and expect it to, keep working. But it's funny because if it's not broke, you shouldn't fix it. But does that mean that you can't innovate and make it
No,
better?
that's why I was saying preparation. You see people who have succeeded, they've gone into a lot of preparation. And what you are saying here, even from that perspective, is preparation. Because you've been good, you have succeeded, but here I am. If I am good, I'm saying this has not come easy. People may be saying, you are a champion, but if I go the same level at this level, come next year, these guys, they have a pen. They are not going to sit. They are going to the drawing board and they'll come big. So if I want to maintain my championship status, I still need to improve certain things. I still need to change certain things. So that's why I'm saying, that's why the generational change is inevitable. Change will always come.
Yeah.
Even the successful one, as you are saying, they will still prepare all the time to be successful. And even when they've been successful worldwide, they'll still get to a point where they say, you know what? I don't know what is going through the minds of those others. We come back to the mind. It is another side of life. I can't tell, but I still need to do something for me to maintain my status as a champion. So what I'm trying to say is that even when we look at the youth, at the young people, you never get satisfied with today's success or
true.
somebody's achievements. So let me give you an example. Joe is getting married tomorrow, and you are a good friend. You've walked with him that journey. And you've seen how Joe has developed to get to this point. And you've been even parted to maybe many of the ideas, many of the things that will happen. They're innovative, have never happened in any marriage. You see it, it's there. And people will be saying, this is wedding of the year. Have you heard
Wedding
that?
of the year.
Wedding of the year, and what have you.
I've heard
And
that.
even you yourself, and you'll be saying,
This is the best wedding ever.
and you'll be taking accolades to say, I was a mastermind, I was a master planner, and even told me, it succeeded because my friend, Ram, and what have you. Now, when your time comes, the pressure will be there. To say people are now looking at the mastermind himself. Now, at that time, you thought you had finished all the ideas to give Joe and what have you a good send-off. I'm telling you, during your wedding, people will come. Of course, they will be expectant, but I'm telling you, if you are truly a mastermind, God will give you other brilliant things that have never happened in any wedding. So this year we can say this is this of the year. But in 2-3 years' time, that will be an archaic thing. People will be laughing. You're saying that was... I was looking at a picture of certain footballers in those days. They were wearing suits like they do today. But the suits are bare bottom and what have you. But that time, people say, this was beautiful. And people say, these people are smartly dressed and what. You look at the shorts, they were big ones and what have you. And people are saying that even women will say, I loved this guy because when he went into the field, when he was running, but I looked at the guy in that big shirt. What was the woman getting? You see? But now, this time around, somebody innovatively has come up. No, we need smaller shorts. We need the tight shoes, tight trousers, and women are saying, but I like the tight. But in those days,
You did
change
like
has
it.
come.
Yeah, that's
So what
true.
I'm trying to tell you is that all the time you discover that innovativeness is coming into our mind, and that's why mental block is just refusing to be innovative.
Yeah, I can agree with
So
that.
because this world is going through novelties, new things are coming all the time. So mental block is just coming to a place where you are not, the innovative ideas are skipping you, or you are refusing, you are rejecting them. But I'm telling you, innovation is part of this life. And if this world lacks innovation, then it will be a boring place. Because I can assure you, you guys,
Absolutely.
I heard you speak that other day as you say, I was saying, if these guys, if we take them to the things that we were enjoying in the 60s, they'll be slicing us left, right, and center. They'll be saying, why did you bring us here? Why do they'll be blaming us? Because now they have, but in 20 years' time, what you are bragging about,
They won't
the
care,
little ones, the Matthews, the Marcos will be
They
laughing
won't
at you.
care.
Look at that. Look at your uncle. Look at that. So innovation is part of this life. So these words, I'm telling you, innovation, change, transformation, these are key words when we are talking of mental
Absolutely.
blocks. That you ask yourself, am I not being innovative? Am I not being archaic? Am I not being, I'm lacking developmental ideas. Am I not being transformative? Because even youth, you have to be transformative youth. Don't just look at the leaders. Your society and your future will not be transformed by every leader, every Jew and child. Yourselves have a part to play by having a transformative mind. To say, no, we can do this better. Bishop, we can do. Many other times I say, you say, but Bishop, I think if we try that, that's transformative idea.
Absolutely.
And we elderly people who have been here should also be accommodating. To accept. It's not only all our ideas or where we are coming from, what we have achieved. We should also know that innovation is part of the system. New ideas and fresh ideas. I like the way they use that fresh legs or new blood. They are injecting new blood. They are mixing the old and the new. That's what change is about. That's how you discard mental blocks. The young ones will learn from the elderly ones, or the mentors, the experience. But the experience, we also have something to learn from these ones to tap new energy. And
Joe, I was gonna say, I think you answered my question, because whilst you're talking, I was thinking, surely there's times in life where like you reach the top of a mountain and you're like, there's no way you can like innovate past this point. And I always think into the future, like even with technology, are we gonna get to a point where you can't get better than what we have? But like you said, there's always going to be innovation, and even the things we can't think about now. I'm sure like maybe 20, 30 years ago, you didn't think we'd have things we have today.
No.
In modern day society, what we have.
Absolutely.
We are speaking here without picking any microphone.
That's true. That's
Without
true.
any standing microphone, strings attached.
That's simple.
And people are saying, where are the mics? And not
that's
even
true.
putting there. But we know, we know that there are mics somewhere.
I always think, in terms of mindset though, it also comes down to an identity shift. Like who, you said, as a man thinketh, so he is, or, so he will be. Going back to the example of elite athletes, you have to have a certain level of self-belief that the things that you think you can bring into fruition. I always give the example of when I started OC's car detailing, the model was picked from what people in Dubai are doing, which is because it's hot out there all the time. They understand we can't go to the car wash all the time, but can we have the car wash come to us? And I said, hold on, why don't we have that in the UK? And that's what spurred on the idea of now me bringing it here. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, do you think people think these thoughts? Because I think everybody thinks incredible thoughts. I think some people are hiding some of the best inventions that the world will need. But then they lack the self-belief to then bring that into fruition. What do you do about that? How do you muster up the belief to now bring that mindset, bring those thoughts, and manifest them?
Challenges are a good part of this life. But before I go there, if we were to say we are seated here in church, everybody's here, if there was a chance to show on the board here the innovative ideas that people have, we will run away from it. People think, and people have ideas.
Crazy ideas.
People have got even maybe flying, maybe more than what the aircraft is doing today. People have got flying ideas, brilliant ideas. But putting them into practice is another thing. To have an idea and then to put in it now, that's where the self-belief issue you are speaking about comes in. Now, if you check even in the Bible, God has brought out the powerful gems, jewels of people, women, men, young ones, little ones, what have you, when they come before a mountain, when they face a problem. There are certain situations you face in this life where it is now or never.
Yeah.
There's a Red Sea in front, there's a Pharaoh and his Egyptian army coming. And God is saying, move into the waters.
Yeah.
The safest place is to move into the water. Just step forward. And so what do? Do you choose to go to these wicked people and say, let's just do as God is saying? Then you incur inside you a certain element of belief that self-belief, yes, it's self-belief, but also it's you are believing to do what you have been told. If you can do this, you can get there. So God has said, just move forward and you see what happens. So the self-belief had to come and hinge on what they had heard or they were told that if you try to do this. So, brethren, there are always times there that you get to a place where you say, you know what, enough is enough.
Yeah.
Today I have to surmount this. Or inside my heart, I'm not a satisfied person. I have to do something about it. You act. Joe was saying, you do something you have never done before to change things that are remaining static and what have you. So a challenge or things that are really bothering you. You should get, we should get to a place where you are angry with your surroundings, with your environment, with what has been going on. This should be a steering within you. And that's where we are speaking about the mindset, the mentality there. It has to change. It has to get to a place where say, I don't think I can withstand this anymore. This has to go and what have you. I remember when we were growing up, there was a certain preacher who was used to preach and tell us that when I come before a mountain, I tell myself, if I cannot jump, go over it, meaning if I can try to go over the top and go the other side, then I'll try to go around.
Yeah.
But if I can't go around, then I have to go under it. I have to make a hole. Meaning, I have to do everything I can do within my... So you know what? The mentality of saying, I have given up, it's not a good mentality. No. The mentality don't say, I can't. It's not a good mentality. That's what we are trying to say. The mentality don't say, it has never happened, it will never happen. Never say never in this life. But the mentality that says, I am going to do something about it. We are trying to do something. We are doing, or I am going the other way. That's where you start from. It's not a big deal. You start from somewhere. And what I know when it comes to issues of faith, when you just take one step, they say the least you can do, the rest God can do.
Yeah.
The little step you can take, you find that things have started moving and what have you. So mentality change is a small step, one day at a time. Yeah, one day at a time. It's like when somebody wants to go and propose. You have never proposed. But you know, one day you just pick a phone and ask somebody, are you coming to church today?
One of those ones.
So, yeah, because we as youth, we are agreeing, we want to do something, want to discuss something. You have started a conversation.
You have.
That person, when he comes, you called me. I'm just, it's simple things, but what I'm trying to say, there are certain things that I've never spoken to. I remember one of my sons during a wedding of a relative. So that was their first time to work with a girl, the flower girl. So I'm not going to tell you which son. So, but the pictures are there up till now. Everybody was laughing because now the rehearsals they did okay, but that day when the girl was coming, because now she was dressed like the actual bride in white, and he's coming there. So people are coming and saying, now start working. He said, no, I don't work with girls. But in my vernacular language, the way he put it, it was so funny because it was like parents tell boys that don't go close to, So he put it in that way. But you see, the funny part was that they did it during rehearsals twice. But this particular day is now seeing the actual wedding with the bride over there dressed. This one is now going to get married. The lady is dressed in white. and the one she's is also dressing. Because, maybe they are trying to get me married.
I'm not falling for that.
I said, no, I don't work with girls. I'm too little to work with girls. I think in the conversation was that, no, you can't get married at
No,
this age.
yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. But you see, later on people had to, and he was looking at the other side, not looking at the girl. But we're saying, and people said, they, one step at a time. But then at the end of the day, it happened. So when we look at the picture, we just laugh and we show, this is what you were saying. But the issue there is that, even insurmountable hurdles or things that you say, you take one step at a time. You discover that after some 2 weeks or so, I've gone,
okay.
I've gone further. So you just take self-belief should help you to merge with others who are saying, you can do it, and you're going, and one step at a time until you see you've gone miles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to say on top of that, agreeing with that, I think a very important part is, like you said, just your surroundings and people around you. If you have people around you who are speaking positive things into you,
it helps.
it helps you a lot, because then it helps build you up and edify you, and you start to believe those things, and you see everyone else sees that in you. I think that's such a very good and important part of having the right surroundings.
There's a massive knock-on effect, because like you said, then also you transfer that energy to the people around you, and they now believe a bit more.
Exactly.
And, it's a domino effect.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think you can close this out, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a great topic conversation, and carrying on from what we spoke about recently about fear as well. As we said, that branches off to many different things, and having these mental blocks in life, can incur a sort of fear, because you might fear you can't get past a certain point, and then you got this mental stronghold in your mind, which is reinforcing that fear. And I think it's just important to talk about these things. And I've enjoyed the conversation we had today, and hopefully you guys have taken something from this today as well. And signing off, I've been your host Joy, my co-host Rama. We've been joined by Bishop T for today at Crossroads Calling, where faith meets real life. And we'll see you next week.